It's great stuff. We both tried it. We both like it.
Honest to God, I've been drinking nothing else for 3 months. I shit you not. I think in like February, I tweeted saying I was having issues with caffeine and I was just like a jittery mess. And Greg replied to me like, "Well, just try this. If it's no good, I'll refund you." Honestly, I haven't stopped since. It's fantastic. I love it.
Go to nowave.co and use pod 10 for 10% off your order. That is NOOWave.co and use code pod 10 for 10% off your entire order. Hello and welcome to the Brand Builders Podcast.
I am Tom Brown.
And I'm Matt Lady, and we're the co-hosts of this show. Each week we will have a casual chit-chat about all things direct-to-consumer, thinking through our own problems and challenges out loud, as well as weighing in on current events and trends. We'll talk about fundamentals, we'll talk about new stuff, but that's what you can expect from this show. Tom, first thing up today is kind of bringing back a topic from a couple episodes ago, or maybe even the last one, is the move for StumpTown from WooCommerce to Shopify. And for context, I've been talking with 3 really good, it seems really great web partner options to help with the migration, rebuild, redesign, and launch the site on Shopify. And so I took to Twitter and asked the lovely folks on Twitter a few days ago. I did a poll basically, and I was like, template or custom theme. The prices are pretty similar, and the results was 63% template, 36% or 37% custom theme. And we had a lot of good responses, and I want to go get your little take first without going too much further, and then I'll read some replies and talk about it some more.
Game on, let's do it. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was last week we were talking about bigger agencies and smaller agencies that you were kind of talking to, going both ways and the differences. So actually, this might feed into that a little bit again. Me personally, do I go template? Do I go custom? I would say it depends. I think for 90% of cases, and I would say probably in every instance for me at this point, I would go template based. Like I'm way more of a fan of getting a template just so I can get up and running like fast, and then doing a bunch of CRO later and sort of theme customizations further down the line. I think if money was no object, like if I had like 50 to 100K, and I really wanted to spend on something very unique, very creative, then yes, I think I would be leaning more towards something custom.
Okay.
But there's not a luxury I've often had.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I hear you there.
What are you going to lean to?
That's what a few other people mentioned. Like I said, price difference is like not a big difference. Like it's well within the same ballpark, and we're talking under 20K for all options.
Okay,
I'll just give that as a baseline. So there's 2 teams with templates, and there's 1 team for the custom theme. So I've been back and forth on this depending on who I just talked to that day. I'm like, oh, this sounds like a great option. I just got off the call with them. Like, this is great. I like them. I trust them. Cool. And then 2 days later, I talked to the other guys. I'm like, oh, wait, this was a great option too. So I was like, I'm like, okay, well, that's good. I feel happy and excited about any of the last 3 choices because there's some more that I've kind of weeded out in between. One of them was a template build, a few months longer, and like 30 to 40K minimum. So like just where we're at in cash flow and budget, and that's just a little out of the question, even though I'm sure they do a good job. So that's kind of weeded out by default. So I gave myself the weekend to think about it and like not like talk to anyone. I did the Twitter poll and kind of just like walked away and trying to like let it sit in the back of my mind. And it seems like the template would be easier for me to use after the build and launch.
Yes.
And then I can go to any other designers and developers and people to work on the site much more easily because it's not this custom coded thing. Yeah. And the custom build is like, dude, you get a pretty unique site. It's really differently designed. It doesn't look like a template. It doesn't look like anything else out there. It's like much more stands on its own. And some of the functionality that I'll need to use to install apps can be then built in through the custom theme. And I save money each month on not paying for the apps. So
That's true.
That's kind of like the if I've dialed it down to like the two biggest reasons to go, either way, it's that.
Yeah.
And I'm currently leaning towards the template.
Like I said, that makes a ton of sense. Like I would say a template will get you like 80% of the way there. And even, if you find yourself like installing apps and you're adding functionality through third-party apps, that is, I would argue probably something you could then go and get built custom and brought back into that theme for probably a lot less than you're going to pay for a complete custom theme from scratch. I've seen, I think it was Ethercycle. I've seen do this a lot of taking like an out of the sandbox theme and customizing the heck out of it. Again, it gets them like, that 70, 80% of the way there. And then it's like customized on top of that. Just for, well, you're right. Like one, for speed, but two, because it is just more of a familiar interface for whether it's you or, whether we're going like 2, 3, 4 years down the line and it's the merchant stepping back in or it's someone new coming on board. Like it's just less of a learning curve for everybody, typically.
Yeah, that's kind of like where I'm landing and figuring that out. I think I was just so appealed by like this, like for the custom theme, like, oh, it's just this husband and wife team, they're designer developer, and it's the cheapest option out of the three. Like, and they have some amazing raving reviews from well-known brands, especially in our Twitter corner. So like, I was like, man, if these guys, and these guys, like I'd like and trust them and think they're way smarter than me if they went that route, but they might be further along than where StumpTown is right now. So I think it's like, let's just do the template. Let's get that 80% of the way there. Let's like get the base line of apps like we talked about last week on, go through all that stuff and then worry about custom 6, 12, 18, 24 months later. Like, I know a brand that my friend is the head of growth at, and they're well beyond 30 million just on some basic template. Like, so like, I know it works. And there's a few other people on Twitter that I wanted to check out their replies and kind of just talk to them. Dave Rukic, who I had on my other show, he said I would start with a 2.0 theme and use a developer to add or edit site sections as needed.
Yep.
Wire up any meta fields to populate the site sections. And then Dan Gray responded. He's from Coton. I don't remember what it stands for, but the Coton Supply. They like do ethical organic apparel and help do that. It's like custom and wholesale for businesses, like custom. So he said, Shopify 2.0 should get you decent scale without the need for ongoing engineer support. I can say like that is a big one that I would kind of come back to of what kind of after sales support you're going to get. Like again, 12, 24 months down the line, is this husband and wife? I'm sure they're fantastic at what they do, but like, are they still going to be doing this in 2 years' time? You're going to be able to turn to them and say like, this app's not working. Are they even going to respond? They may. Yeah. So it's a good point, right? So, and then Kelly Vaughn, who used to run her own big, like pretty big, like
I was quite surprised by her.
Yeah, she changed directions in her life and career and shut down her agency or stepped away from the agency. And Taproom. Taproom. Yeah, that's right. So 2.0 theme for sure. No sense in spending additional time on a custom build that'll require more support in the long run. A lot can be accomplished with an existing theme. And that's her saying that as a former agency like owner, right? Krista Darrensburg, she's a UI UX designer. She's been at a few places, but I think she got her start at Commentary Collective a few years ago. I remember following her from there. I'd go theme if you don't have full-time dev support. You can't keep it with component creation. Corey Dobbin, he's now at Shoelace. He founder of Aaron Advertising, so I think he still does freelance consulting, media buying. If it's the same price, the development is going to be deep enough to make that worthwhile long-term. You can invest more in a dev that will basically create you a theme, but that should, if it's any good, be more expensive than just a theme. So I think there's a few pretty good points here.
Yeah,
and like of all the people that replied, it's like all in favor of the template. And so it's not just like someone picked template and then like moved on with their day. There's like, of the people who applied, it's all like, oh, like I should listen to them because they like took the time to think it out and respond and feel so passionately about their answer. It's not just like, whoops, I actually clicked on Matt's poll. Okay, bye.
No, and this is folks that have been in the game for a long time too. I mean, Kelly is a prime example. I think she's been in ecom for 5-10 years, really. Like,
yeah,
she's kind of seen it all and seen like the Shopify 2.0 themes and the rollouts and just. Again, I think like go back a few years, it was worth going custom because like there just wasn't that wide a range of templates that were good.
Yep.
I think that has changed a lot.
Yep. And then Paige said she just paid a developer a bunch of money, custom work right before 2.0 came out, and she's like, I wish I wish I could take that back. Wish I didn't do that. So all signs are pointing towards template from smart people that I trust and are my public board of advisors. I trust you a lot, and so you're saying that. I think it's good for me to like kind of make the template call. And between those two agencies and teams, man, one of them is actually super small consultancy like almost, and one is slightly bigger, but is a part of the tiny family that Andrew Wilkinson runs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, well, they probably know what they're doing, and like, I know Andrew is like
kind of knows cool into that relationship too,
right? Like, obviously, like, yeah. So the pricing is $1,000 to $2,000 difference below, like I said. So that's not really a big factor for my decision. It's close enough and within range, and we can pay over the next 2 or 3 months, so we can break the payments down. So it's not like we have to pay that lump sum up front. So I think it's just easier to go. I'm trying to dream big and think big, but like I think the logical next step would be to just go like, oh, let's just get to Shopify, start on a template. Like, it might just get you everything I want and need, and I can worry about the custom stuff later. So yeah, I think that's my decision, and I think I know which one between the two I'd go. Because one of them was like, oh, we can start in 4 weeks. So like end of October. And the other one's like, we just had a client drop out for October and they're going to start later. We can start now. And so I'm like, that's pretty appealing because I have a lot of bandwidth to take care of this stuff and like, not be the roadblock for an agency or consultancy. But in coming from an agency and freelance background the last 7 years, like I know how to project manage and like communicate and not be the roadblock. I'm not just going to randomly go missing for 4 days and not respond to them. But, oh yeah, here's my scattered feedback and like not answer their questions. Like that email's coming in, I'm answering and pushing it back to them within hours, like if not sooner. Like, I just see all the potential low hanging fruit, and I just want to like go pick it.
You just want to go grab
it. I just want to eat some fruit, man. So I think I made the decision with the one that can start sooner, and he's actually an ex Shopify customer success manager, and he worked with a bunch of Plus stores and clients, and
pretty damn familiar with what he's doing.
Yeah, and so like. He was one of the only ones to ask more specifically about the numbers and like metrics and like, the actual end result like that versus, we can help with the migration. We can make it look better. We'll get it launched in this amount of time. I'm like, oh no, he understands like it's all about revenue too. And, growth.
Okay. So. Interestingly, was the guy that's actually paying more attention to the metrics and actually digging into the weeds, is that bigger or smaller?
Smaller.
Smaller, that's what I figured. Yeah,
I
think that is as much as like the tiny or the bigger agency appeal is always there because you feel like you're gonna get good support. I honestly, I swear to God, like the boutique guys and girls, they do pay way more attention.
Yeah,
they're invested in it more.
Yeah, so he's like, right. I agree. Like I feel that, and I've just felt that he's like, oh yeah, here's a competitor you might have missed on your list. He like sent that to me. I'm like, oh, cool. And he's the project manager. Like, so I talk to him. I don't have to talk directly to the devs or designers or copy people. And that's copy is like all that stuff's included too.
Wow.
And so I'm like, oh, okay. Like I only talk to one person and it's this guy who I talked to for like an hour. It was just supposed to be a 30-minute call. Asked about the numbers and like, oh, your conversion rate's only this, like but your AOV's that. Cool. I think we can like help bump that up. And he understood like more about, oh yeah, all this low hanging fruit context I was giving him. I'm like, our ads are mediocre. We've never done email, all this stuff. So he was pretty excited. So I think I have the right decision made. But I don't think I can go wrong, and like it would go horribly with any of them. So yeah.
No, but it's kind of cool. You found someone that aligns with what you're trying to do, man. It is. Makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Makes the whole thing go 10 times easier.
Yep. So I think that's about it for that one, and we can change gears a little bit. And I want to ask you and get your take, and I'll reply and chip in and share my stuff too. But how to prioritize and optimize what levers to pull, what buttons to push. You're a brand founder. You're probably bootstrapped if you're listening to this show. You don't have all the money and time in the world. It's this constant battle of time, money, and resources, skill. Like, Tom, how should we try to start to guide brand founders or people that work with brand founders and how to think about how to keep like what to do each day, like what pieces of the puzzle, ads, website, email, organic social, SEO, fulfillment, customer service, financial, like there's so many categories and so many things to do. Like you can't always do them all every day. So how do we like plan ahead and help them think about this stuff?
You can't, man. I mean, I think you're right. It depends on like what stage you're at, but let's assume for folks that are bootstrapped and are just getting started, or have like a little bit of traction.
Yeah. Let's just say for like argument's sake and context sake, you're at around 500K in revenue. So for like the last 12 months. So you're probably maybe running some ads. You've got some email going, hopefully. You've done some organic social stuff. Like you probably have your supply chain figured out, and you're like getting ready to start scaling up some more is kind of, I think, would be helpful.
Makes sense. Okay. Like assuming you're profitable, I think genuinely the first thing I would do is go and get an audit done. I'm not plugging them just because, but like genuinely, like I have had such an insane amount of value out of the report that we've had done. Actually, that was last year, and I think I kind of mentioned before, just like the immediate impact we had by just implementing everything they told us to do. I'll be honest, I dragged my heels for a couple of months just trying to get that across the line. I didn't push it hard enough. We had a developer lined up, and to be honest, I just dropped the ball and stopped going back to him. But once we did, honest to God, it was like night and day. Should have implemented it months earlier, which, go on.
So when it's night and day, what is night and day? Is it the conversion rate, average order value?
Yeah.
Less customer service, like tickets, like less questions because it's more smooth and like.
Yeah. I mean, I can't honestly say that we tracked like tickets, but certainly like conversion rate, average order value went up. Site speed was down dramatically. We actually kicked out a bunch of apps just by like removing, like we had definitely overcomplicated aspects of the website. There was like large blocks of copy because we were only trying to over describe things and communicate too much and tell a story with everything. I was like, cut that shit. So a lot of that. Again, with the cart, like there was certain things that we took out, which again improved conversion rate. And I'll be honest, I was kind of adamant that they wouldn't work, and everything did. Like there wasn't a single damn thing that I looked at was like, oh, this is worse. Like not one. Wow. So from like we could have spent months kind of A/B testing so much stuff, but I think it was almost easier to just go get that report. Yeah, it was painful at the time to sort of spend that money, not really knowing like was it going to provide value, but I can tell you in a heartbeat, like absolutely.
Yeah, and so as of right now, their pricing is $2,800 for a 3 to 4 week report turnaround time. And then like $3,500 if you add a collection page or something as well. So that for a brand at the size we're talking about, that's a decent amount. Yes. Like that might be like your net profit for a month, or like it might be half of your net profit. So it's like, oh man, like I have to order inventory and keep that up. I have to keep spending on ads to keep making money. So you can't just like shut it down and like, okay, I'm going to do this because then, it's just difficult. So what you're saying is if you make that investment and you actually implement the changes, you'll end up making more money just doing what you're doing already.
Exactly.
Like, you don't have to spend more on ads right away after that. Like,
you don't
just
change anything else.
It'll be more efficient across all parts of the funnel. You'll collect more emails. You can like make more money off that. So I think that's a great first step. And like, it's so cool, like how they made that service, and like that's all they do.
It's phenomenal.
It's it's so cool. Like no one's like, I don't know of any services like that before them.
No, I don't.
And I know of CRO agencies, and I know of testing agencies and different stuff, but this is like a productized service. It's like, this is all we do all day. And it's like, there's focus. So it's really neat.
I'll be honest, like the biggest thing I loved with Audit is they were not doing the work for us. So, we did the report, and like, it's not like they were selling us. There was no bias. They weren't trying to get work in. They weren't telling us that like everything is broken and you just spend 20 grand to fix it all. It was like, here's your report. We're done. Like there was no follow-up sales. It was like, if you want to take like, our suggestions based on all their experience across the team, have at it. If you don't, ignore it. But like there was no pressure. It was kind of nice. It was just removed. There wasn't that bias.
No, that's a really good point. There's a lot of times as a freelancer and consultant, and I've seen this from agencies I've talked to, read about, heard about, other people I found. It's like, oh, I'll do a free audit of your account before we talk, so then I can like have context. And then everyone is like, always like, well, not everyone, like 80 to 90% of people like, oh, these are like all the things wrong with your like site or your ad account. Here's what I would do, or I can easily make this 3x. And it's just like, well, dude, you just looked at the ad account. Like, you don't know anything the rest of the business and like what they've tried in the past. And you probably just looked at the last 30 or 90 days. And like, there's no other, you have to consider all the other things going on in the world. And like, oh, maybe they had supply chain issues and the ROAS shot down because their top 3 items that like their best sellers that account for 80% of sales we're out of stock, and it was stuck on the port for 2 months. Like, there's so many things that you just don't know from that brief look at this ad account. And like, I was like guilty of that too. Like, I'm not gonna lie, but I never went as far as to say I can guarantee this, or you must do this, or this is like always wrong. I just tried to be like, hey, this is what I think about like this setting or this attribution window, or I think about this campaign or this ad creative. Here's some ideas of maybe how we can iterate or change it. So I like how you brought that up, because brand founders, like a lot of brand founders are first time people. Just like, they figured out the product part and are trying to figure out the rest of the business. So they're just like, oh, this guy sounds like he can help me. Cool. Yeah. But genuinely audit. We need to talk to them about sponsoring this show, or or giving us an affiliate link at least, because that was genuinely one of the things I wanted to do. Some people said to do it before the site transfer. I think I'm going to wait till after at this point.
Yeah, I think I would.
Yeah. So I'll get like 6 months to 9 months of Shopify data, and like really just let it like see how it works compared to before. Like, the mobile site's got to be better. The load speed's got to be better. The customer experience is like, you'll be able to add stuff in your cart. If you got the queen mattress, you'll get the queen topper and queen protector like added right there. And you don't have to go back and click and add it. Like, it's insane like how many people are actually taking those things still without like that functionality. It's like, it's like 5 or 10 years old, like website. It's just stuck in the past, but it's still working.
Page. Hey, that's the thing. It still sells.
Right. So I'm just like, cool. I think get the template, wait on the audit, do that a little bit later. And then I'll see. Okay. So that's your suggestion. It's like, one of the first things to do is like, do the audit. If you think that your site and your experience is holding you back, what other questions or factors could we include that would be like, cool, an audit would be right for you? Like, is it a conversion rate benchmark? Is it like you have high ad click-through rate and like low site conversion? Like, because still like 2,800 to 3,500 is like a decent amount.
It is.
So Just trying to help people, kind of give them a little more guidance, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think when the stage I was at, like, we had a site that converted, we were selling, we were profitable, the business was growing, but, I knew just from like looking at customer tickets, if nothing else, that people were coming in and like they had questions that we were answering, but were not being communicated effectively on the site. The FAQs were full of this information, or the data was on the product page, but people were not reading it. It was not being communicated in a fashion that seemingly was not clear enough. So that's kind of when it started getting in my head, and I then started looking at it. I'm like, okay, if let's say I'm just going to take this, I'm going to put it on American Express card, and I'm going to pay it off over like 60 days. Like, is that an investment I can make? Assuming like even if the improvement that I get off this audit report just breaks even, so if I'm going to spend $3,000, can I make, in theory, like what is the bump that I need in conversion rate, and is that then a realistic bump? If we're saying I'm going to go from like maybe 2% to 2.5% or 3%, like what is the profit difference on that? Does that cover the cost of the report? If yes, then I'll do it.
And it definitely seems like it was well worth it.
Within weeks.
Like, yeah. So,
days.
So that's good, and a good way to think about it too. And I don't know if like the newer other cards besides American Express, like the Parkers of the world, they have the 60-day net payments. Yeah. Like maybe that's like cool. Like it's a calculated investment, like you're saying. It's not, I don't want to like make people think they're gambling with their business and money, but you got 60 days to pay off $2,000 to $3,000. Like it seems like when you're at that stage, or if you're a little bit above that point, and it's a one-time thing. It's not a recurring cost.
It is. It's one-off. And I think it's the hardest part, I'll be honest. Like when we're also used to just Facebook ads, I'll be honest, where it's literally like a slot machine. I put $1 in, I get $2 out constantly. And I just turn the machine up every day, as opposed to something like an audit or a CRO, a service where I'm spending maybe 3, 5, 10 grand, and I'm not going to see the return on it for 30, 60, 90 days. It's just changing that mindset of, I've often had the same way of working like with freelancers, or actually working with clients that were paying me and trying to have this conversation with them. Like, you guys are spending $100,000 a month on Facebook ads, and you're arguing with me over $3,000. Like, no, what are we doing?
So $100,000 a month. If you do the quick math, which we shouldn't do public math, but that's about $3,000 a day, if not a little bit more. So you take, over the course of the month, you take down a little bit of spend each day. There's your $3,000.
Yeah.
And it's going to help you be more efficient the next month, exactly. Or like the next month or two, right? So you can spend even less. You can get the same revenue at $80,000, at $75,000. And you didn't like saturate the audience, or like have to go through creative and whatever. It's like, oh, we fixed a foundational thing with our site. And I love how you pointed out the customer tickets being like an indication of like, well, we have that on the site. Like that's there. It's on the product page. But it's how we communicate it. And they're not supposed to be best practices, but I believe there are some best practices. And so they like that team, that's all they do. They like do these audits for people, and they've done this for clients in the past. And it's like this spin-off of their main agency. It's like, this is all they do. So it's like, if you're getting their opinion and their like expertise, it takes them 3 or 4 weeks to do it. They're not just glancing at your site and like,
it's not a short report.
It's not an hour-long call where like, oh yeah, you should change this. You should, like, to put into context, that's around how much we were paying the last agency that I've just let go of finally. Mm-hmm. For like $10,000 of ad spend a month.
Whoa.
It was like 30% management fees, bro. And like Google, and at that low spend, I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay. And I talked to them on a call. I'm like, okay, I should have charged more as a freelancer consultant was my first takeaway. And I'm like, okay, I know I can do better than these guys. And then the second was, yeah, I think I can take over Facebook. I have time. I know which Avenger from D2C Twitter I can call to take on Google. Because I know Google at a basic level, but I could do it and like save that $2,000 a month maybe on management fees. But I think it's so managed and unprofitable right now. Like, this is such low hanging fruit and like mid hanging fruit, and for the long term. Since I took away the agency fee, I'm like, cool, here's some of that as the freelancer to get started. And I know this guy, I trust this guy, talked to him for years. And so I'm like, cool. And I just talk to him like once a week, once every 2 weeks. And like, cool. Yeah. This is how Google's going. This is all the stuff I did. Okay, cool. Sounds good, man. And then just like,
easy.
Move on. Yeah. Chit chat. So, okay. So there's a little bit of context. Number one priority you're saying is an audit if you're around that level. And I think that's a really good option for a lot of brands, maybe not 100% of the brands. We never try to speak in total absolutes, but someone's always going to have a like use case or something. A quick note from our sponsor. Just a little reminder that No Wave is the coffee for creativity, which us D2C folks need plenty of. Their signature flow state coffee is organic ground coffee with L-theanine. This is shown to help lower anxiety, improve brain function, and sharpen your focus. Tom and I have both tried it and have made it our coffee of choice when cranking on ad accounts and planning for big events like Black Friday. It's the perfect way to kickstart your workday, whether you're at the office or working from home. Go to nowave.co and use pod10 for 10% off your order. That is NOO wave.co and use code pod10 for 10% off your entire order. So after the audit, what else would you recommend, or what channels are you prioritizing? What levers are you trying to pull that will have the biggest impact, both you could say in the short term or in the long term, like you did with the audit? So
yeah, I mean, there's probably two that I would almost do at the same time. One of which being influencer seeding and the other being SEO. And I think influencer seeding is kind of short term. SEO is kind of the way I look at it, to be honest. And actually feeds into more of a PR kind of mission. And then SEO, I am baffled by how many founders and how many merchants do not even consider it as an option. Right. And again, I get it, because it's a longer term play. It's not 2 in 1. Oh, sorry, 1 in 2 out. It's not just that slot machine feeling. It does take months, if not years. But once it's, again, it depends on the business you're building. If you are genuinely building something that you want to last longer than a year or two, and that you want to be evergreen, and you actually want to start maybe seeing your ad costs come down, or at least not getting more expensive, just want to capture more of your segment of the market, I think SEO is still so underplayed. Really, really do. And again, I would take 5 or 10% of your ad budget and put it toward SEO efforts.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I was going to come back to that example of that past client of $100,000 a month and spend. Take 1 day, take 2.5 days from spend, and be like, here you go, SEO, freelancer, agency, consultant, whatever. Yeah. And start building. It's building blocks. It is building blocks. It's not 1 in, 2 out today, but you put the 1 in, 20 out and 20 out with no extra cost. Yep, exactly. So I think that's a really good point, and something I've been thinking about for StumpTown. And I want to figure out a way to do it not with a big agency right away. I kind of want to just get started because they've done nothing. And so I'm sure there's a lot of low hanging fruit. I could get away with a SEO buddy, and then paying a content writer who's not amazing, but knows the base, and the SEO buddy can help guide them and kind of manage that, and match the keywords with Google paid ads and all that stuff. So I think it's really good, SEO. And then so more about influencer seeding. We talked about it before, but in case they haven't listened to that one, influencer seeding is essentially you reach out to a bunch of people, that creators, influencers, content creators within your niche or within the topic of your brand. And you just say, hey, I love your stuff. I love your profile. I like what you're doing. I like this thing. I run this brand. I would love to send you free product to try it out. I am not asking you to post about it. Just wanted to start the connection off, relationship off. And out of 100, 50% will open it or even look at it. Some amount will then reply. Some of them won't want to move forward. and 10 to 20% or whatever. I don't know. It's a funnel.
There's a cadence.
So, yeah. So 10 or 20% will say yes, they get the product. 5 to 10% of them, you get a post. And like, they liked it so much. They were so impressed. They like, I'm going to help these guys out. They gave me a free gift.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, I think, I don't really know where I stand on it, but there's some like controversy and discussion around like, you shouldn't be gifting people free stuff and like hoping that they post for it because they're a business too. And all this sort of, So
I think it's honestly, it's a good point. I think the bit that people miss, and it was certainly, I might be completely wrong on this, but it was our strategy. We were on average a month seeding out to about 500 people. So we would reach out to 500 people. And literally it was exactly as you say, like, would love what you're creating. Genuinely, we've actually looked at your profile. We know a bit about you. We do follow you. We do engage with you. We would just love to send you the product. Absolutely no strings attached. Just if you like it, fantastic. If you hate it, give us some feedback. Literally, that was the message. So of those 500, we probably got about 300 to 400 a month that would say yes. It was pretty high. Of those, we probably got about 50% on average that would then post something. So we were getting sort of 200 to 300 assets every single month of people posting.
Wow.
And that wasn't really like, yes, it was great that we got sort of free content off the back of it, but that wasn't really where we were trying to leverage, if you like. We genuinely were trying to find the people that loved the brand and loved the product so that we could then go onto like a pay per post or some kind of contract model. We didn't just want to be paying people $2,000 a post that really didn't give a shit about the product. They were just happy to take the $2,000 and shout about it. Like, that's not the people we wanted behind our brand. So it became a very quick way. And it even worked with like the ones that didn't post. It wasn't like there wasn't then a relationship with some of those. They might receive the product, unbox it personally, love it, jump back into our emails, DMs, tell us about like how much they actually enjoy using the product. All right, they didn't go and post about it. But that then led to the relationship of like, okay, well, what would it cost to bring you under contract? What would working with you look like? What's the arrangement here? Like that, it just opened up the discussion. It wasn't that we were trying to take advantage of these people and get them posting for free. Like that wasn't the methodology. Again, it comes back to this like short term, long term. If we got them to post once, it was like, okay, we know that these people are interested in this product because they're talking about it without any incentive. Mm-hmm. What happens if we now give them incentive?
Yeah, the way you explained it, like that perspective does sound like it's good for all parties involved, and you're not trying to manipulate or cheat anyone out of anything. Like,
no, we were just trying to weed out. Didn't care.
Yeah, and I think because that's the other end of it. Like, man, I've had people ask me to post stuff for them or like be an advisor, but there's like a 2-month like trial period before you like get shares, and I'm just like, what a weird way to start. Like,
Dude, I had a guy, and I'll be honest, I struggle with this. I had a guy that reached out to me a couple of weeks ago offering to sponsor my newsletter. I've never had a sponsor for the newsletter. Like, well, that's just kind of cool. We start going back and forth on rates, and I'm like, well, what do you want to include? And again, he couldn't take like the 30 seconds. He's initially like led with the pitch of like, love your content. Hadn't read a damn thing. Like when I actually started talking to him about it, he didn't know anything about the newsletter. He didn't know where it was hosted. He wasn't on the list. I'm like, you're full of shit.
Yeah, that sucks, right? No. Oh, that's so ingenuine. Like, yeah.
It's just so disingenuous. It was like, okay, this is not a good fit. Like, as much as there's money being dangled in front of me, like, I don't want it, dude.
And it's like, cool. Like, I make up an ad, I plug it in, I take the money. Like, it's not that much work if they're reaching out to you.
Yeah.
And they actually know your newsletter, they actually know the content and all this stuff. But especially if the brand or the SaaS tool or whoever is like reaching out to you and starting off with like being disingenuous, like this is not a good start.
It's not a good start.
So I'm with you on that. Okay, so we got the audit, we got at the simultaneously, and this may vary depending on your industry and how cheap your products are, and keyword competition or availability, and the skills you have or your surrounding people that you already work with, your connections, right? So there's a few factors to consider.
There are.
So yeah, I think audit, SEO, influencer shooting are all good options, and it's not like you're just like pouring more into your Facebook ads, or just like, I'm just going to send more email campaigns like that. Those are levers and buttons to push. But when you're trying to think short and long term, I think those are good options to consider. And so it also depends on, like, I'll just add in like my 2 cents of
Definitely.
like, if you know with 100% certainty and you're a master of Facebook ads and you know you're spending as much as you can at that time and there's no like optimizations to make, then cool. But having worked with a lot of brands in that range,
Yes.
500 to $1 million to 2 million to 5 million, I've worked with a ton of these small to medium-sized brands. Like, I've never touched a 9-figure brand ad account. I've only worked with 6, 7, and 8-figure brands, right? So just like, oh my gosh, this is what I saw with StumpTown and why I was so interested in the opportunity. Look at all this low-hanging fruit. Like, I'm like a fruit maniac. I'm just like, there's so much we can do here. Like, they think they're getting the most out of it. They think they're squeezing out all the orange for the orange juice, right? But like, if I look at the orange, I'm like, it's still 80% full.
Still too much here.
Yeah, hold on. So all that being said, like, yes, we're recommending an audit, an SEO, an influencer.
Yeah.
That's why.
Just a damn good point. Like,
yeah,
if there's more to squeeze from Facebook ads, Google ads, like, absolutely have at it.
Sure. No. Yeah. And I'm sure that was like in the back of your mind, or like what you would say as well. But the way I framed the question is kind of like, what else? So I kind of, it's like this time versus money resource too, and like what skills you have.
Yeah.
Almost anyone can like find people and to like DM them for influencer seeding, and then it costs your product to send to them. It's like relatively easy to test, you know?
Yeah.
And anyone can kind of do that. There's obviously some skill involved with like who to select, how you craft the message, how you build the relationship, how you form the agreements. And that's why there's influencer freelancers and agencies out there.
Yeah.
But it's just good. It's a good point and a good conversation to have. So those are some ideas of what else you can pull and push. If you think you're already getting the most out of Facebook and email, and try to just, again, provide more perspective on short-term and long-term thinking. So last one, it'll be a little quicker than some of those segments. Tom, I did a ton of digging on StumpTown's analytics and data, and this surprised me a lot. I'm talking about time lag. It's a thing you can find in Google Analytics, and it gives you a report. It gives you a little breakdown of when people purchase within first interacting with your brand. So there's a few sets of days, and I'm gonna ask you to guess what percentage of purchases. This is year to date, 2022. What percentage of purchases you fit in each bucket? So I will ask. This is for StumpTown. So my mattresses on the site that we have and I've told you all the basic ads and stuff, no email. So all that context. What percentage out of 100? So I'll keep track of your percentage. What you have left. What percentage of purchases would you guess that come within the same day, 0 days?
Ooh. Okay, so I'm leaning two ways on this. One, because it's a mattress. Like, it's a fairly big purchase decision. But I know StumpTown is not crazy expensive. And I would imagine if you're at a point where like you're looking at new mattresses, you're already in pain. Like, something's gone wrong. Either your back is killing you, or like it's time. Like, so 0 days. I'm gonna say like I'm gonna get 20%. Let's go there.
20%. Okay.
I think most people, no pun intended, are gonna sleep on it.
That was so awful. It's so good. I love it. I'm a big fan of awful puns. Okay, moving on to. So you got 20% for 0 days. So that's within the first 24 hours they come to the site, they buy it.
Yep.
This is now days 1 through 11. So the first chunk of days after the first day.
I'm going to go with like 30%.
Okay. 30%. next set of days, 12 through 30. So it's kind of like the rest of the first month.
Probably like 15?
15? Okay, so you have 20, 30, 15, so 65. So you have 35% left. So 31 to 60. So like that's in that second month.
I'm going to say probably again like 15% in there. And then I think the difference probably falling outside that 60-day window. Like in my mind, I'm kind of seeing like a lot of people making a purchase decision within a couple of days. They kind of dip in the middle, and then people finally make a decision after a couple of months. I think it's
so that'd be the last 20% would be 61 to 90 in the third, like in the before 3 months is up.
You're going to tell me I'm way off.
Yes, mostly. So I'm assuming analytics is set up correctly. I'm assuming all the data sources coming in right. This is not including retail. This is just D2C online purchases. And it seems that way. I matched the conversion value up in number of conversions with the WordPress WooCommerce site. It was very, very close. It wasn't exactly 1-to-1, but there's no way retail's included in this. Okay. So I'm going to go backwards.
Okay.
I'm going to start at the end and work our way up.
Yeah, blow my mind.
Yep. Because it blew my mind, and I'm not trying to make you look silly. I'm just our gut reactions. Our gut reactions are not always so trustworthy, and we assume things like we're not perfect. We don't know everything. We're learning as we go. Yep, and you're about to see it in real time. Okay, Tom.
Just ruined my reputation. Appreciate it, man.
You didn't, because if you didn't do this, then that's worse. Because then you're like, oh, I'm a guru. Just buy my course, I'll tell you. Okay. For 61 to 90 days is 2%.
Wow.
Yep. Okay. So now you can start to see where I'm going to go with this. 31 to 60 days, 4%. 12 to 30, 8%.
What?
1 to 11.
See, when I said 115, I meant 1.5. It's totally where I was.
No. Check the tape. Check the tape. We have it. So I have to add up 1 through 11, but it's basically 2, 3, 5, 7, 10, 15, 25, 27%, basically. Doesn't add it up for you.
Which means the balance falls on day 0.
Yes, and that is 58%. And I'm working in at my house by myself, and I literally was just like, what the fuck? That can't be right. I was just like, what? Hold on here. But I looked at different time windows, different date ranges. I'm going to go back for the last 3 years now and just check. But dude, now tell me your reaction and
you're telling me 58% of people buying a mattress buy it on the day they see it online.
Yeah. And the last 3 years, Tom, it's up to 60% on the day 0.
That is extraordinary.
Yes. And so I've had a little bit more time to think about it, and I have a little more context, and I've looked at the accounts more than you. You haven't looked at the accounts. I've just told you about it. Yeah. Yep. So I didn't think this at all. I wish I had my guesses, but I only came up with this idea after I already discovered that data. So
yeah. I keep looking at these numbers and looking back at you. This doesn't make any sense to me, but go.
This is me for half an hour. I was like, what? I'm like, I keep saying out loud to myself, are you sure? Are you serious, Google? What? So the closest one you got was 1 through 11. You said 30, and it was 27%. So props to you on that one being very close.
I got one.
But I swear, if I asked anyone, they would have said pretty similar stuff to you, and I would have been very similar, because I would assume 25% 0 days, right? Like you're saying, it's likely that, cool, I need a new mattress. I need it. Oh, this one's pretty well priced. I just got an ad. Cool. or I'm in Portland or in the area and I Googled it and the ad comes up.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I can just buy it. They'll ship it to me. They're local. Cool. Or I've heard of them before. I don't, whatever it is. But 58%, man, it's bonkers.
That is huge.
So that means 42% comes 1 through 90 days after. And I think with a tool like Triple Whale or probably Northbeam, you'll be able to get beyond that 90-day window. And I'll be able to tell more accurately the multi-touch journey a bit more and see how that correlates to paid spend. Yep. So we'll see how different this changes over time. Once I get to Shopify and pick one of those tools.
Do they, I mean, just even right now, are they doing much in the way of email collection or not a whole lot? Is there a way to look at how long somebody's been on the list and then sort of run that cohort of when did they actually make a purchase?
No.
That would be kind of interesting to see.
No. Unfortunately, we've never asked for an email. They've never sent out an email campaign.
Ever?
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah. So okay. I'm thinking, cool. Since we don't have any of these retention tactics or channels in place, if they're gonna buy sooner rather than later. Because
that is wild.
If they don't make that choice in the beginning, how are they going to be reminded day 12 through 90? Do they just keep seeing the same ad over and over? Probably. But that's only 14%. Yeah. And if you didn't buy the first time you saw that ad, you keep seeing the same ad or a slightly different one.
Chances are.
Yeah. So especially because this has been a lot of the ad spend has been so local focused and only within 2 states out of 50. So I'm sure there's something messing up these numbers a bit, but all of these things I'm thinking about now and been sharing, I think this is what helps tell that story.
Yeah.
I think 1 through 11 or 12 through 30 will get a lot more of that purchase share once we get the email flow set up, abandoned cart, send email campaigns, stuff like that. And we've never done a sale or discount ever in retail or online. So Jeez. It's if you like it and you buy it and then you move on. So
it's going to be interesting to see how those numbers change over the first sort of 3 months once you've got a new Shopify site, emails, SMS, whatever else kind of going on, and a proper sort of remarketing strategy going on.
Yeah, dude,
that is wild. Because you're right.
Wild.
Just seeing the ad on day one and then that's all they're seeing. Yeah, if you're not being reminded of it, why would you come back? You might have the tab still open on the second day. Yeah, maybe it's still in your head for a week, but by the time I'm 20 days out, there's nothing reminding me anymore.
And to break down 1 through 11 a little bit more, it's 6.7, 4.5, 2.9, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1.
So it does start dripping off quite quickly.
Dramatic drop off.
Yeah.
And then, so 12 to 30 is 8%, but that's 18 days.
Of 18 days.
Right? Yep. So it's literally all under 1%. And it varies a little bit up and down each day, but.
Dude, you have got a fun time ahead of you.
I know I know. And this is all it's just reaffirming every time I look at a new thing. Each day I'm oh my gosh, I can't wait to do this.
Yeah. And,
when
you keep talking about low-hanging fruit, now it's starting to make a lot more sense. A lot.
a lot. Dude, I was doing some manual spreadsheet stuff today with pulling from Facebook and Google. Bro, just if you, the past agency did not ever do a purchase exclusion. So I have no idea how much of it is click versus view.
Okay.
On Facebook. And Google, for the month of September, month to date, the Google ROAS reported by their platform.
Yep.
3.46. And it's been 60 to 80% of that spend has been on branded terms. And so I went through
60 to 80% on branded? Ooh, come on.
And that's the return you're getting, right? So on Facebook, the same amount of spend, about 5,000, they're getting a 12x.
Jesus.
And so I look at the Google account. Remember earlier, I said I'm not a Google pro, but I look in there and I'm like, why is this keyword in brand? That's not a branded term. And it just has like $1,000 to spend this month with zero purchases. And then I looked back for the whole year, like the last 90 days. I'm just like, this has been like burning money. So
neglect.
yeah. So I just like all these numbers and doing it day by day and just seeing like how messed up it is. And like one day, we will literally make more on Facebook alone than the entire store, because I pulled in the store revenue each day, right? So I'm thinking some of this has to do with the nonsense of conversions having to be reported and show up later, right? And so if I look at each day, oh yeah, casual 35x ROAS on the 20th, right? Like
when Apple just dumps a bunch of results straight to the account.
Yeah, like Facebook made 99.4K, right? But the whole store only made 4.3K that day. Same day, Google only made 750. So it's like, this is me just trying to get a sense of like how off everything is, and like just seeing if any trends. Like, and I even added like days of the week. I didn't dig into it yet, but is it like on weekends? Is it middle of the week? Like it's only 1 month so far, but yeah, man, it's just been super fascinating to have like the time and space to do this and just go through it all, get context, dig. There's no client yelling at me to like, why did our ROAS go down the last 2 days? Like, fuck if I know. Like, I don't know. So overall, just based on ad spend and total WooCommerce revenue, the MER, like blended ROAS, is 6.03.
Healthy, seemingly.
Even with our lower gross margins compared to other mattress brands,
kind of got through my head.
Still profitable. Like, but knowing everything I told you about the Google account, the Facebook account, no email, the website as it is, just like I don't need the audit right now. I just need to get to Shopify, just have them do the basics, start collecting email, do a buy or die sequence in like 30 days, offer them like a 10% discount at the end, maybe.
Yep. Okay, for anybody listening, if you are in Matt's position and you are getting a 6X, don't even bother with an audit.
Yes, good callback. And like, you know, like MER is like one metric to use, and blended ROAS is one thing to reference. But if you're in growth mode and want to grow and scale, and you don't want to just like limp along, and this is like your only business, only source of income, and you're at that level, you probably have a lot of wiggle room. You have more stuff in that orange to squeeze. You just gotta go look at it, or have like hire a consultant, hire a freelancer, talk to a friend in the industry. And like, I think that's what we keep underestimating, how useful it is to be active in an online community and meet people across the world that like actually understand and know what they're talking about. And they're not, like we live and breathe this stuff. And if I went to any of my friends or like people I know on Twitter and like, hey, can you look at this for like 20 minutes? And one Google Ads friend did. And he was like, oh, I can't take this on. It's too small, but I'll give you a free Loom audit for 20 minutes. And he just went through, was like, this is wrong. This is wrong. Like, why the heck are they doing that? This is missing. Like, he was just, because he's not trying to get my business.
No, he's not attached to it. Yeah.
No.
And he's completely objective.
And he's like, yeah, friends and family free audit for you. I'll just talk and walk through it. Dude, that's so insanely invaluable. Like that confirmed my suspicion of Google being mismanaged and underutilized. Yeah. But like, I know enough at this point after all these years, like that something's wrong. And that's important. That's important. Like first time founders, they don't have that knowledge and context, man.
No, they don't. And I'll be honest, like, it's for as much as everyone kind of slates on Twitter at times that, you know, it's people just kind of thumping their chest. Like, if you genuinely get in there and ask meaningful questions of founders or, you know, people running agencies, and again, like, just, you very quickly figure out who is full of shit and who is actually worth talking to and worth listening to. Yeah, I mean, like, that little Bluebird app has paid such dividends to me over the years. It is insane. Because for exactly what you're talking about, like, the people I have met, the connections I have made through that I have absolutely no right to have. You know, the basically, like, the rooms I've been able to get into because of that app is ridiculous.
Insane, right?
It is insane. There are so many people that have been so willing to just, like you say, just give of their time and just help for no expectation. It's not transactional. They're not looking for a return. Like, they are just genuinely trying to do the right thing and help someone else out. It's been insane.
This has helped, like, discovering this and me going through this today, like, has made my wheels turn even more about, like, that group chat for head of gross, or, like, do we just do that? Do we, like, just open up to founders and like that are under a certain revenue amount, and they could just get a free or very, very inexpensive gut check on these type of things? Like, $100 or $50, and they're in this, like, group of other people, like, and then we just answer questions, and we just, like, yeah, dude, that's totally bogus. Or, like, no, don't hire them. Like, here's 4 other people that check out. Like, I think that's insanely valuable, and, like, the value exchange is worth it, because we get to, like, do what we want of, like, providing help and guidance. And get a small bit of money back for our time, but it's also them knowing, like, they're committed to the business, because there's been also on the same side of the coin, so many times they've given away time and free advice and dove deep, and they just didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the most frustration one. Like, literally in my Twitter DMs at this point, this is not a brag, like, there are over 1,000 DMs. And, like, I know there are people in there that genuinely, like, if I had an hour to sit down with them, like, would use it. And yet I've been so burned by exactly what you're talking about, where I've gone on the call with someone, like, almost every week of, like, have you done it yet? Like, no. Why not? Like, I just kept giving. And, like, I'll be honest, I kind of burnt out. Yeah, I couldn't keep doing it. And yeah, when I was then kind of getting more public with stuff and just talking to people more in public, like, I just started drowning. I could not keep up. So if you sent me a DM and I seem like a complete dick that has not replied, like, I'm very sorry. Like, I'm genuinely just drowning. I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, this is not a hit piece on Tom this episode. But even I sometimes takes a few days for Tom to get back to me, and I host a podcast with him. So, like,
getting better, I promise.
You are, and part of me is because my phone is dead. We have to use Twitter versus, you know, I'm not trying to.
No, I'm with you.
Just trying to provide context for everyone. Yeah. So, man, this was amazing. This went a little way too long, but I think it was, like, pretty worth it to talk through all this stuff. And thanks for being so brave to give your estimates like that.
You totally ruined me.
Totally, not on purpose. Not on purpose. But I even tried to give you like before we hit record, like, hey man, like, I found some pretty interesting shit. Like,
you did, but I didn't know if you were going to tell me, like, the bulk of it was going to come between, like, 60 and 90 days. I'm like, is he really throwing me off?
No, I was just, like, being genuine. Like, holy crap, man. So this is a good one. Appreciate your time, Tom. Appreciate you for listening. Please go subscribe if you haven't yet and you're listening. Please leave a review on Apple. We're also on YouTube, so leave us a comment and we'll get back to you as well. DM us, even though we may not. Tom may not respond.
I promise I will try.
Tom will try. Mention that you're listening to the podcast and show you're trying.
Put that in the first line.
They'll be a part of the filter. So my DMs are open too. I know Tom's much smarter and sexier than me, so but I'm here for help as well. Anyway, thanks for all's time, and we'll see you next week.